Good day, peace and love to everyone. Today I'm making another pasta. This is very much in competition with my spaghetti pomodoro, only in this case it's spaghetti pomodoro alla fresca, meaning using fresh tomatoes, and the cooking is actually reversed. In this case we boil the pasta first and then use the actual same pot after draining the pasta to cook the tomato sauce. And for this recipe we are using farro spaghetti. You can use any type you like, even if it's brown, white, brown rice, kamut, any type, or oatmeal. Freshly grated Parmesan and Romano. I like to mix the two for this recipe. It gives me salty and nutty flavors. And to cook the sauce, we will need extra virgin olive oil, 1 crushed clove of garlic, and salt, and sugar or sweetener, which I will place into the fresh tomatoes. The garlic I will actually marinate into this extra virgin olive oil for extra garlicky flavor. Also, to flavor the pasta, we are using pepperoncino, just a little pinch, freshly ground pepper, black, and if you want to use multicolors or white pepper, any type you prefer, go right ahead, of course. And this is basil infused extra virgin olive oil, which will be dressing the pasta very last minute with the grated cheese. And these are basically 2 very large San Marzano Italian tomatoes, which I like to chop finely, and then I use my hand blender to create this kind of a textured feel to it. I like a bit of texture, chunk, and sauce at the same time, and it works really nicely with this particular dish. And here's everybody together, and here we go. And this is step number 1. Fill the pasta boiling pot, put in 2 or 3 tablespoons of salt, and wait for it to go boiling mad, just like you see right here. And next the spaghetti goes in like a nest, and then you gently push it and let it boil for about 8 minutes or so. And about halfway through, take a few ladlefuls of the starchy water, which you may be using as a finishing touch at the very end, in case you want to water down the sauce a little bit, and it creates a nice creamy texture. And we're about halfway through the time, which is about 8 or 8.5 minutes, depending on the dry pasta you're using. And this is what I like to see, the pasta dance. So now we take a few ladlefuls from this frothy part on the top, and I like to put it on the small back burner using my Turkish coffee pot to keep the starchy water, and that just keeps it nice and warm. And we have about 1.5 minutes or 2 to go. And this is what I mean by my small Turkish coffee pot. I put in a few ladles of the starchy water and just keeping it there on warm. Now I've just drained the pasta, and immediately you put the same pot back on the stove and you start to cook the garlic. This is a very, very fast sauce, and I will toss in the tomato almost immediately and cover that just for a few minutes, and that's the sauce. In goes the fresh tomato, and I'll just cover this for probably just a minute and then immediately toss in the pasta. Pasta in, thoroughly mixed. Make sure you gently mix it from the bottom upwards with a nice and large wooden spoon. I also dropped in a couple of tablespoons of the starchy water and kept stirring, and I'll continue the garnishing process by adding the basil olive oil and a little bit of the cheese, and then as I serve it, I'll add the cheese on top, the rest of the cheese. The basil infused olive oil has been tossed in, and this is what I mean by just a little bit of the cheese. Toss that and then immediately serve it on a nice and warm plate, and then garnish with the rest of the cheese. You can even add a bit of black pepper and pepperoncino, maybe even a little extra virgin olive oil. It's entirely up to you. Make it your own. And here it is, spaghetti pomodoro alla fresca. And one thing to note is, while you're tossing everything after the cooking process, is to turn off the stove top as you're doing that, because you don't need to cook this anymore. And I really hope you enjoy this. It's very intense, more tomatoey, more cheesy, more garlicky, and also much faster than the traditional spaghetti pomodoro, because it's fresh tomato and it's cooked very fast. Buon appetito!